Hello and welcome to the ScatterVolt channel, and today we're going to be building the best $1,800 gaming PC in 2024 and in 2025, featuring the all-new SSUPD Xhuttle case and some other really cool components. If you have any doubts on the performance of this PC, by the time you finish watching this video, you should have none. This isn't a 1440p gaming PC. This is a 4K gaming PC. This PC will have zero issues running any PC game you want, and that includes running those games and even streaming them to Twitch, YouTube, Kick, or wherever, on top of content creation, video editing, 3D rendering, anything like that. This PC can literally handle it all. It is an $1,800 gaming PC at the end of the day that'll look very stylish and unique while having the performance that you'd want. So I'm going to show you how to put together this PC step by step, the parts going inside of it, how to install Windows, drivers, and then its 4K gaming performance. And if this all sounds overwhelming to you, don't worry, I've got a really handy PCBuild.gg link in the description below showing you where you can get all the parts you'll need to build this PC at the lowest prices possible across different retailers. So with all that said, I want to give a thank you to SSUPD, KELVV, ID Cooling, and FSP for helping sponsoring this $1,800 gaming PC. More on them in the description and throughout this video, but let's go ahead and start building this PC. So to kick things off, to build this $1,800 gaming PC, first, you're gonna need to like this video. That is a requirement. But second, you're gonna need a pair of scissors, a banana, and an 8GB or bigger USB flash drive for our Windows 11 bootable media device. More on this when we get to turning on the PC for the first time and then installing Windows. But for the main bread and butter of this PC, we're gonna be using the Ryzen 7 7700X. Now, spoiler alert, you don't need this exact CPU to make this PC work. You can use a 7600, a 7600X, a 7700, even a 7800X3D. But the 7700X is the one that fits the budget for this PC, but once again, don't feel constrained as to what CPU you can or can't use in this PC. Although the best one is gonna have to be the new 7600X3D that is only available at Micro Center. However, keep this in mind, I actually don't have a 7700X in the studio right now, so in its place, I'm gonna use the 9700X. But that doesn't really make much of a difference because the performance of both of these CPUs are just about the same. And then for the motherboard, I'm using a B650 motherboard from MSI. It doesn't have to be this one. It could be one from ASRock, Asus, Gigabyte. It really doesn't matter. But the Tomahawk one here did pretty well in my motherboard tier list video, which is why I'm using it. It also comes with onboard Wi-Fi, really good VRMs, and the black stealthy look of it I think is gonna look great in this PC. Now with the 7700X, 7600X3D, or pretty much any Ryzen 7000 CPU you choose with an X next to it, isn't going to come with a stock cooler, which is why we're gonna be using the ID Cooling Frozn A620 cooler. So the reason why I'm using, on the topic of the CPU cooler, the ID Cooling Frozn A620, is that this is one of the best CPU coolers in its price range for about $50. And yes, this is gonna be perfectly capable cooling off that Ryzen 7 processor. What makes this unique is that it's got a very large heatsink with two 120mm fans and this really stealthy black look. And there's definitely some intricate design happening in the cooler itself that allow it to have really low temperatures despite being an air cooler. It's also low noise, has 6 heat pipes, and has a highly efficient FDB fan. So yeah, I think this is gonna definitely do the trick for our stealthy black $1,800 gaming PC. So with all of this covered, now let's go ahead and actually put this onto the motherboard. Let's go ahead and open up your motherboard box, take out your motherboard. Underneath all of this, you should have some Wi-Fi antennas, so you will need this. Right here is a handy quick installation guide. This is gonna be useful if you don't know where goes what on the motherboard when you get to say plugging in the power cables and IO cables into the motherboard. And that's about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and unbox your motherboard and let's insert the CPU into the socket. So this is gonna be pretty straightforward. You're gonna go ahead and remove this lever right here, pull this up, take out your Ryzen 7 7700X or whatever CPU you decided to use for this build, and locate the triangle that is on the top left of the CPU. And you're gonna line up that triangle with the triangle on the top left of the socket. That helps you indicate the orientation of the CPU, and putting this in is really straightforward. Just drop it in, place down the bracket, pull this down, press down the lever here, hook it underneath, and wha-bam. Okay, let's go ahead and install the ID Cooling Frozn A620. Now, look at this. You have an installation guide. If you got eyes and you got ears and you can read, you can do this. So here's a little instruction manual showing you how to install this. And if you look more closely, we're gonna be installing this on an AM5 CPU. That's what our 9700X or 7700X is. So that's gonna use the AM5 sockets. We're just gonna go ahead and follow the AM5 instructions here. So we're going to need to remove these two black plastic brackets first and then put on the mounting support for the CPU cooler. There's already a backplate on the CPU socket here, so we don't need to get one of those. Now let's go ahead and take care of this. All right, we got our backplate exposed. Now let's go ahead and open up the baggie here. Here are those mounting brackets that I was talking about earlier. So let's go ahead and take those out. These are the clips we'll need to put the fans onto the heatsink. Is our included thermal paste. We'll need that. And then it looks like we will need to open this up. And then finally, here's a cable that we'll use to help connect all of our fans from the cooler into a single CPU fan header right here onto the motherboard. Don't worry, this will all make sense once you actually start installing the cooler. So again, at this point, just go ahead and follow the instruction manual now that you have everything at your disposal. This should be pretty straightforward. Again, as long as you read and take your time, this should be really easy to install. Okay, for our RAM and SSD, starting with the RAM, I'm using a KELVV Bolt 5 DDR5 kit of RAM. Now what makes this special is if we check here on the back, or I guess on the front, this is running at a speed of 6400 megahertz with a cast latency of 32. This is also EXPO ready, which means when we have this on our motherboard, we turn on our PC and we go into the BIOS, we can go ahead and enable that first EXPO profile for this memory so it can run at its full advertised speed, which will give us the maximum possible performance from the RAM for this gaming PC. But also what's cool about this RAM, other than its stealthy looks, which I think is going to blend really nicely with this build, is that the RAM itself is low profile. That is pretty compact, and this is gonna fit just right underneath our ID Cooling Frozn cooler. So that all works out really well, which is why we haven't installed the fan yet. We're gonna put in the RAM and then that additional fan. But for our SSD, I'm going with this 2 terabyte Acer GM7000. This is a PCIe Gen 4.0 SSD with really fast read-write speeds with a DRAM controller. Ticks off all the boxes, and yes, for being an $1,800 gaming PC, we got room for a 2 terabyte SSD, which is pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and install this along with the RAM and our final fan for the CPU cooler. So first thing you'll notice is that when you try to install the RAM, you'll see this fine print right next to the RAM slots that shows you that you need to insert the RAM into slots A2 and B2 first. So the two slots that are farthest from the CPU socket separated by one in the middle. So these two. So with that, go ahead and open up these latches, take your KELVV Bolt 5 DDR5 memory, and this is only gonna go in one way because the inserts here on the RAM stick are different sizes. So you may need to play with this, but if you don't get it right the first time, you can just flip this around and try it again. Okay, that is gonna go in. That's the right way to put it. So when you have this, give it a firm press, make sure you hear an audible click. Yep, you gotta make sure it's all the way in there. If it's not all the way in there, you're gonna have some issues. But now with that RAM installed, I'm gonna go ahead and put on the other fan like this. Okay, so with our two fans now for the CPU cooler, let's go ahead and get this adapter that was found in the box for our CPU cooler, plug in one of the fans into one of these and the other fan into another one. So both of these are hooked up and will act as one cable right here. And we're gonna plug this where it says CPU fan right over here, because this is obviously going to control the fans that are cooling the heatsink for our CPU. So to install our SSD into our M.2 SSD slot, go ahead and take your screwdriver, remove these two small screws here on the motherboard. All right, and one thing I want you to do is go ahead and remove this plastic piece here that is guarding the M.2 heat pad right here that's gonna touch our M.2 SSD. So as you can see here on the M.2 SSD, there's a little notch here on the connector. That's gonna indicate what orientation this is gonna go in. So it's only gonna go in one way. So you're gonna bring this in, press it in like that. And then just gonna go ahead and gently lay this down, make sure it's lined up. Then go ahead and screw this back into place. And with that done, let's go ahead and put this into the SSUPD Xhuttle PC case. Okay, and now for the case. Like I said, we are using the brand new SSUPD Xhuttle PC case. And this may look a bit intimidating to build in, but trust me, it's not gonna be that bad. If anything, I would say the main strength of this PC case, besides its potential cooling performance, is its very unique way of displaying your components. First thing you'll notice is that your motherboard is oriented in a different way despite being an ATX PC case. So right now I've got the case set up in its vertical format. So the motherboard is gonna look something like this once we put it inside the PC case with your graphics card then being displayed vertically. But what's really cool with this case is that if you didn't wanna go with a vertical orientation, you can actually flip this around and switch it to a horizontal orientation, which also displays your system in a really unique way with the motherboard basically upside down. All that said, you can fit up to 9 fans in this PC case, excluding the cooler fan. That is really overkill. So if you want absolute airflow, you can totally achieve that with this case. And that includes using a water cooler. If you wanted to go down that route, you can totally do that with like a 360 millimeter AIO. Also something we're gonna play with, and I really wanna see what happens when I finish building this PC, is this integrated controller right here. So not only does it include your power button, but it includes some various RGB buttons here for your RGB controller. You can do like a cycle or a static mode, or even I think a rainbow mode. So I really want to see what kind of RGB controller is inside of the Xhuttle case. I want to see what we can do in terms of RGB while still keeping the stealthy overall look of this PC build. Also, it's $140. Comes with 3 120 millimeter ARGB fans, and that also includes this little ARGB strip right here on the front of the PC case where this glass is. So that adds a bit more personality to this PC case than just being a typical standard ATX PC case. So let's go ahead, see what's inside this PC case. Let's go ahead and open it up. Didn't need any screws or anything like that. I just took it off with my hands. And inside the Xhuttle PC case, you should find the case manual on top of this box right here, which includes all the screws you'll need to install the motherboard into this PC case. And look at this. They're labeled pretty handy as well. You got your hard drive screws, your SSD screws, power supply screws, and your motherboard screws, aka these MB screws. And inside here looks like an additional panel right here with some zip ties, probably for another orientation for the PC case. You might need this, but these zip ties could come in handy for the cable management on the back side of this PC case. So for now, I'll leave this stuff in here, but we will need those motherboard screws for later. And how are we gonna take off this front panel? Can we also just kind of take it off? Yep, and can we even take off this front panel right here? Yes, we can. All right, so we've got full access to this PC case. It should actually be really easy to install the motherboard into this. Let's go ahead and take care of that. All right, let's go ahead and put this into the Xhuttle case. But if you're wondering how we actually put this in, all we're gonna do is essentially place this onto here. But if you're wondering how, well, right here you have some holes on your motherboard, and these are where these standoffs on the PC case are going to go into. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 holes on the motherboard. And then if we go back to the PC case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 holes as well. Now we have this little SSUPD thing right here. Hopefully that doesn't get in the way. I don't think it will, but we'll see what happens. Either way, we have standoffs covered for all of the holes on our motherboard. So let's go ahead and slide that in. And it looks like we are gonna have to remove this somehow. We can probably do that later. So we'll be able to screw in all the standoffs except for one in this corner. Anyways, go ahead and open up that baggie full of motherboard screws, as you can see here on screen. And one by one, I like to go ahead and screw these in, but not all the way into the thread. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and screw in all of these screws, not tighten them, but once they're all in, then we'll go ahead and tighten each of these screws in a crisscross formation. That way we put equal pressure on all sides of the motherboard. Okay, I've got this figured out. So to remove this, which is essentially a cover to hide your power supply cables, pull this out like that, and then press it kind of out like that. And that way we have access to our final standoff here for this final motherboard screw. And with this last motherboard screw, now I can go ahead and finally tighten this up all the way. Go to an adjacent corner, tighten that one up all the way, and do this in a crisscross formation until you fully tighten all of the screws across the motherboard. All right, with all of those fully in, Let's go ahead and put this back and then push it back into the PC case. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, and for the power supply, we are using the FSP Vita GM 850 watt 80 plus gold power supply. It's going to deliver up to 90% energy conversion, and this is a newer power supply, meaning that it comes with the updated Intel ATX 3.1 power certification. And this includes the new PCIe 12 volt 2x6 power cable, which is going to be useful for graphics cards like the RTX 4070 Ti Super we're eventually going to use in this build, or other PCIe 5.0 future graphics cards, which can deliver up to a maximum of 600 watts in one go. So yeah, this power supply should be able to handle the beans on any future RTX 5000 or potentially Radeon 8000 graphics card. This also features 105 degrees Celsius Japanese bulk capacitors to maximize reliability and performance. And to quote FSP directly, this features an LLC resonant converter topology to reduce switching losses, boost efficiency, and keep the output voltage regulated under load conditions. Great stuff. Oh yeah, and this power supply, it's fully modular, which is exactly what we want for this kind of a PC case. Because as you can see, here's where all of the cables are and more. But if we open it up, here is our power supply unit here. We're gonna need to open this up. This is a very clean looking power supply. There are all of our cables. Here is our power cable that will plug in from the back of the power supply into a wall outlet. And what we're also given here inside the power supply box, conveniently, is a power supply tester, this black thing right here, and 4 case screws we'll use for our power supply. So with all that, let's go ahead and put in the power supply into the SSUPD Xhuttle. Okay, so first up, we're gonna go ahead and plug in the motherboard power connector, this really big one. So one end says PSU, the other is gonna go into our motherboard. So let's plug this end into the power supply unit. There we go. Next, let's go ahead and plug in our CPU power cables. This is gonna go into the power supply. This is gonna go into the actual CPU. And we'll plug this in where it says CPU, right here on the unit. One down here and another one just above it, because we're gonna need 2 of these for our CPU. And then you can't tell here on the back, but there is a little SATA power cable right here. This is for our RGB controller that comes inside this PC case. So we will need one of these that has one of these SATA power cables. So we'll plug this into peripheral, doesn't matter which one. There we go. And then finally, for our graphics card, since we're using a 4070 Ti Super, we're gonna need one of these, a 12 volt power cable. We'll plug one end into right here where it says 12 volt 2x6. Make sure this is firmly in there. Give it a firm click, firm press. There we go. It has to be all the way in there. And now with all these cables, let's put this into the back of the PC case. All right, let's start things off with our HD audio connector. This is gonna go on the top left of the motherboard, so top left of the PC case. It's gonna go where it says HD audio, and if you're wondering where I'm gonna be plugging in all these individual connectors on the motherboard, again, check out that manual. It shows you where each of these things are gonna go, but no matter if you choose an Asus, ASRock, Gigabyte, or even MSI motherboard, all of these will have relatively the same spot for you to plug in. So this is gonna go in one way, like that. Now down below here is a fan header that came with the PC case. I assume for these 3 fans that are on the bottom of the PC case, this is gonna go into one of the sys fan headers. It doesn't matter which one, it can be whichever one you want, but this is gonna go in one way. Next, we have our 5 volt ARGB header. This is gonna go into one of the 5 volt ARGB headers here found on the motherboard. One of these that have 3 pins. As you can see here, there's 3 holes on the connector. So the 2 and 2 will go in kind of like that. And then look at that. Here's our front panel header that contains our power button, reset button, HD LED, power LEDs, all that stuff in a singular connector. So this is super simple. This is gonna go down here where it says JFP1. This is our dedicated front panel header as seen from the motherboard. And you just plug it in like that. Pretty easy. And now right here, you can't tell it super well, but this is where our USB 3.0 cable is gonna be plugging in into this connector. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but there's a little notch here on the connector that's gonna line up with this insert on the connection. The 2 and 2 will go in together. There we go. Once you get the cable to kind of tuck in, then this thing can plug in pretty easily. And then over here in this corner is your USB Type-C cable, this cable right here. This will also go in one way. There we go. Now let's go ahead and start plugging in our power cables, starting with our SATA power cable for our RGB header. We'll go ahead and plug in our SATA power cable into here, just like that. And again, by the time we finish plugging in all of these cables, there is a cable route management guide from SSUPD you are welcome to follow to help better make the back of your PC case look cleaner. Okay, here's our CPU power cable. We're gonna go ahead and see if we can clip both of these together, but if we can't, which it looks like we may not be able to, here's a latch here on the connection that's gonna line up with this little notch right here, AKA this is only gonna go in one way, as you'll soon see. We're gonna bring this around, plug this in like that. And then same right here. For the second set of cables, we're gonna bend this around. Yep, make sure they're all the way in there. And then down here is we're gonna put in our motherboard power cable, but not only do we need to slide this out, but we have this Type-C cable in the way. So for the moment, we're gonna unplug that, but to take this out, it's pretty easy. I think we just pull that out and then just remove that. Then as I mentioned, here is our motherboard power cable. We do have this extension to it, which means we're gonna have to kind of clip this on kind of like that. So it's gonna be full. Again, there's this latch here on the connector that's gonna line up with a little notch on the connection. Basically, you're gonna put the 2 and 2 together. This is only gonna go in one way. Okay, so we've got the cables for our motherboard now tucked in behind the PC case panel here. We can put back on this protective cover. And don't forget, here's our USB Type-C cable. Don't forget to plug this back in. And now here is our power cable for our graphics card, which let's go ahead and talk about now. And for the graphics card, we are using the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super. This is the first GPU I've used in a while from NVIDIA for one of these PC builds for a simple reason. In my opinion, it is the best all-around graphics card, or more or less the most well-rounded one. What I like so much about it is that this has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, but it only retails for about $800, or when it's on discount, about $770 or even $750. So it's got enough VRAM for now and for the future, which is one of the reasons why I recommend AMD a ton, is that they offer a lot of VRAM for the money. But here, the 4070 Ti comes with enough for its price tag. In terms of raw performance, however, this is not too shabby. I will admit, this is still technically slower than a Radeon RX 7900 XT in terms of raw performance. However, this definitely makes up for it in ray tracing. And when I think you're gonna build one of these higher end gaming PCs, you probably want something that can do a fair bit of ray tracing, which in that case, the 4070 Ti Super definitely is going to deliver that at 4K. All right, so after you take off all of the plastic protective packaging off of your GPU. Oh yeah, and don't forget, this can also stream, do video editing, again, all that fun stuff, because this is an NVIDIA GPU at the end of the day. You've got access to CUDA cores for Blender, 3D modeling, and the NVEC for anything streaming or video editing related. It's a great all-around NVIDIA graphics card, like only one of two I'm comfortable recommending right now in 2024 and going into 2025 as far as I know. So to insert this into the PC case, take off this PCI Express cover slot right here, take your screwdriver, and let's see, what 2 slots is the graphics card gonna occupy? It's gonna be these 2 up here. Okay, it's gonna be a little bit unconventional, but we can do this. Okay, we've got our 2 slots open for our 4070 Ti Super. We're gonna bring this in. Also note, we've got a little GPU holder right here, so this might get in the way. Bring this in, there we go, that's gonna fit. Okay, there you go. With a little bit of finagling, this is going to fully insert into that topmost PCI slot. It looks like it's gonna go in, so if you think it's gonna go in, give it a firm press. And you should hear an audible click. I'm gonna move up this little GPU holder thing right here. Make sure that's all the way in. And we'll take these screws that we just unscrewed for the PCI cover express slots and put these back into the graphics card from this angle right here. And here is the power cable for our RTX 4070 Ti. Again, I don't know what's gonna be the most optimal way to have this cable. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and plug it in. And this is gonna only go in one way, and make sure it's firmly in there. With these 12-volt power cables, gotta make sure it's all the way in there, like that. And let's go ahead and turn on the PC and see if this works. Okay, let's go ahead and prepare the PC for the first boot. There's a few things you gotta understand with this kind of PC case that make it special. So all of the IO is gonna be routed here through the top. So that's your display cable, your keyboard, your mouse, any USB flash drives. It's all gonna come through the top here. So keep that in mind. That said, the way it routes out is actually not too bad. So how you remove this top is actually not too terrible. Back here, there's this little switch on the top panel. You flick this from locked to unlocked. And then here, you can kind of just take this thing off. It's a little confusing, but it just goes off like that. And now up here is where you can access all of your IO, including where you're gonna put your 2 Wi-Fi antennas. If you didn't forget to do these, great. Otherwise, if you did, now's the time to take care of that. Now, go ahead and plug in your USB to your mouse and keyboard here into the top of the PC case. Now let's go ahead and plug in the display cable for the PC. Now again, since everything is gonna be here at the top, you're gonna wanna plug this into where the graphics card is. So I've got the cable, it's down here where the graphics card is, not up here where the motherboard is. Your graphics card is what does the graphics for your gaming PC, not your motherboard. And I'm gonna go ahead and route this through the back of the PC case through here. So as you can see, all the cables are eventually gonna end up back here, kind of like this. But don't forget to plug the other end into your monitor. Now this can be HDMI, DisplayPort, doesn't matter which kind. There we go. Don't forget to plug in the power to your monitor. A lot of people forget this. Don't forget to do this step. And now that I have the IO plugged into the top of the PC case, I'm gonna go ahead and open back up the little cardboard box that came with the case. Here is our remaining back panel. We're gonna put where these IO cables are just to make sure they look cleaner. These are gonna go through the top like this. There we go. See, now I've been able to move these cables down a bit lower. You'll see that in the B-roll. And here is your power cable that came with your power supply. Plug one end into the back of where the power supply is, plug the other end into a wall outlet, and then flick the switch from the circle to the one. And once all of that is said and done, we go ahead and plug in our Windows 11 bootable media device. This can be used for any 8GB or bigger USB flash drive. I have a full video tutorial linked in the description below showing you how to create one of those for free. So once you do that, go ahead and plug this into one of the USB 3.0 ports on the top of your PC case. And finally, with all of these cables routed in correctly, I'm gonna go ahead and put the top back on, lock this into place, and now, finally, press the power button. Let's let this thing run and do its thing. All right, so eventually after a while, you should see this screen. There'll be a little circle that comes up, and then this should pop up. This will let you actually install Windows through your Windows 11 bootable media device. So hit next, install now. Here's where you can enter in your Windows product key if you have one. I don't, so I'm gonna go ahead and click I don't have a product key. That's fine if you don't have one. Windows 11 Home is what I'm gonna choose. It doesn't matter really. I accept, next, custom. There's our 2TB SSD, and you just gotta wait here. All right, once you see this, go ahead and choose your country, hit yes, skip. Now here is where you wanna go ahead and connect to your internet. Now you have a few options here. You actually can bypass this screen entirely by Google searching on your phone how to install Windows 11 without an internet connection, and there's some handy tutorials showing you how to do that through console commands. It's pretty straightforward. You're welcome to do that. I'm not, because I'm gonna go ahead and use this spare USB Wi-Fi adapter, plug this into the back of the PC and proceed with installation, because although there is Wi-Fi in this motherboard, the drivers aren't pre-installed for it. But if you're lucky and you have a router close to you, you can just plug in an Ethernet cable from the back of the PC straight to a router and take care of your internet connection like that. Here you're welcome to name the device of your PC. Now here you can go ahead and sign into your Microsoft account. So this could be like a spare Hotmail account from a previous Xbox Live account, or if you just have a Microsoft account for whatever reason, whether it be for school or for personal use, go ahead and sign with that, or just create one. Now here we can go ahead and set up as a new PC if you're given this option. I'm just gonna go ahead and again, insist I want to set this up as a new PC. Here you can go ahead and create a PIN. This is what you'll use to sign into your PC every single time you turn it on. Now for all of these things going here on out, whether it be these additional options or privacy settings, I just decline all of them or I skip them, just because I want a clean bare bones Windows experience. So I'll go ahead and meet you guys at the end of the tutorial. Okay, so once you hit the Windows home screen, let's go ahead and open up your favorite web browser of choice. It can be whatever you want. So first off, let's go ahead and install the chipset drivers and other utilities we'll need for the motherboard. So go ahead and type in the name of your motherboard that you chose to build this PC with. Type it into Google, click on the motherboard website page, and here under support, we'll see a few handy things you might need. So here we have firmware, BIOS. This is handy if you want to have the latest BIOS for your PC, but we want to go here to where it says driver. So here, let's go ahead and download what says AMD chipset driver. We are going to need that. And then if we go here to where it says LAN drivers, here's where you can go ahead and download our Wi-Fi drivers and our Bluetooth drivers. Here's where you can go ahead and download your Realtek HD universal driver for audio. You're welcome to do that. And yeah, that's about it. So go ahead and let these things run. So extract each of them. And for each of these, I'm gonna go ahead and just click into them. I'm going to find the setup file like that. Just let that run, hit yes. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're gonna do that for each of them. But now we're letting that install, we gotta go ahead and download the drivers for our RTX 4070 Ti Super. So what I'm gonna do here is actually type in NVIDIA app download. This is what I recommend for managing the drivers for your NVIDIA GPU. It's way better than the old NVIDIA GeForce. And yes, downloading the beta will let you also update the drivers for your graphics card. It's a pretty cool thing actually. So our chipset drivers finished up. We're not gonna restart our computer yet. Let's go ahead and run these graphics card drivers. And see, there is our graphics card driver already downloading, and we'll go ahead and run this once it finishes. But the really cool thing about NVIDIA app is that you don't need an account if you don't want one. So let's go ahead and let this finish installing, and then we'll run it. Okay, and once we finish that up, we're gonna go ahead and enter the BIOS. So whenever we see the logo of our motherboard name pop up, we're gonna go ahead and spam the delete key on the keyboard to then enter the BIOS. All right, delete key, there we go. Now we're into the BIOS, and all you gotta do is just press 1 on EXPO and well, bam, that's it. So one thing I'm gonna do just to give this PC a little bit more power is I'm gonna go to advanced, I'm gonna go to AMD overclocking, accept, precision boost overdrive, and I'm gonna set this to enabled. And that's just gonna give a little bit more juice to our Ryzen 7 processor. But the important one is to make sure that EXPO is enabled. So once you've done all that, press X, save and exit, and you're ready to get to gaming. All right, we've got Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I totally forgot they made a 6th one, if I'm being honest. And I think I chose the wrong weapon for this. We're gonna get killed immediately if I'm gonna... Yep, I'm gonna get some really sweaty people. Oh, what the hell? Amongst all these sweaty kids, I think it'd be a great time to talk about graphics settings because we've got, check this out, ultra settings at 4K. I'm letting you guys know straight up, you are wasting your money if you decide to pair this PC up with a 1440p monitor. Straight up. Oh my... Mate, this is absolutely terrible. This is not fun at all. This is worse than Fortnite. What am I supposed to... Where am I supposed to go? Anyways, like I was saying, you're wasting your money if you tend to only be on a 1440p monitor for this PC. This is a 4K gaming PC. We are playing this game at 4K. We're getting 94 FPS at Ultra. Oh my, I think I'm done. I think I'm done playing this game. Okay, for you FPS nerds, we'll go to basic. For those of you who want absolute maximum frame rate at 4K, where are they coming from? Where are they coming from? There's the frame rate. You should be happy with this. You should have no issues with this. You should just accept that this PC is really flipping fast. I'm done. All right, next game. Ooh, all right, we've got a much better game on our hands. Counterstrike 2, once again, playing at 4K. We don't do 1440p here. This PC is a waste at 1440p. This is a 4K gaming PC. Oh, you're... Go the M4A1S. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I had his head. I had the head locked on. He just got me first. Anyways, frame rate is on the top left. And let's be real. How many of you have a 4K 240 hertz monitor? Not many. So yeah, 4K gaming PC, you're gonna get close to 144 FPS in this game. That is a lot, a whole lot. But I know some of you guys are gonna be like, oh, but I want even more frame rate at the expense of graphics settings, which My escape button is not working. I want to see if I can change the graphics settings for you real quick. We'll go ahead and go to low settings, see what happens at 4K. I don't know why. I don't know why, but some of you like this apparently. You like having crappy graphics but high frame rate on PC. At that point, it's like, might as well get a console at that point. We're still at about 140. Interesting. Are we really at 140 right now? Will the FPS go up at all? No, it's pretty much there. We don't have VSync, do we? Do we have VSync on? Let's check this. VSync is on. Let's go ahead and disable that. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, there we go. 356. 356 at 4K. I was like, something was up. This PC should be getting well past 144 at low settings. So again, if you have a 4K 240 hertz monitor, this PC is still clearing it right now. I'll go for one more kill. Look at the frame rate on the top left. You should be very happy with this PC. It's an $1,800 PC. It's gonna be fast enough for literally anything. Don't even bother asking me, can this PC run X game? It's gonna run it. It's gonna absolutely run it. But let's end off this with one more good frag. I'll take that. I'll take that. Let's move on to the next game. All right. We're doing Alan Wake 2. Why are we doing Alan Wake 2? Because it's quite simple. Cyberpunk 2077 was not going to tax this PC at 4K. It would have ran it with ease. So we're doing a game that's even harder to run. And this is for all you people who want to build this PC for those very good looking AAA PC gaming experiences on games like Alan Wake 2. So we've got this game running at 4K and look at the frame rate, 50. Yeah, we're really pushing this system. Let me go ahead and show you guys the graphics settings, options, graphics, and we've got this set to full screen. DLSS is enabled and so is frame generation. So even with that stuff turned on, we are getting close to about 60 FPS, but we've got a lot of stuff turned on. And plus we're at high settings, high ray tracing, high path tracing. This has everything dialed up to the max. To go ahead and ease up the frame rate though, I'm gonna disable these effects. We really don't need them. And I'll leave everything else back on. Let's see what the frame rate is like now. Still the same. Okay, cool. Let's play with this one more time. We'll do high textures, high scattered object density, and let's see, for path tracing, we'll drop this down to medium. Still at about 50, okay. I'm telling you, Cyberpunk was gonna be too easy to run on this PC. We needed to do something a bit more challenging. I will give this one more go though. Let's try to get to 60. Graphics, we'll go high settings, medium ray tracing, low path tracing, low transparency. How about now? What? Still also 50. Okay, very weird. This game just does not want to hit 60 on this PC, which is really odd. Still though, you gotta admit, this game is undoubtedly good looking. And again, if you want those really good AAA PC gaming experiences like I've said up until this point, this PC can totally handle it. It's got an RTX 4070 Ti Super paired with a very capable CPU. And I'll leave that there. We'll finish out with Fortnite. All right, we are on Fortnite now, no build mode, and this is at 4K. This is at 4K again. You're wasting your money if you decide to build this PC for 1440p. It's too fast. The frame rate is on the top left, and we are getting really close to 144 FPS, which I think is pretty nice for Fortnite, but we got some tricks up our sleeve that are helping us get that. If we go to settings here, check this out. We are at medium settings with NVIDIA DLSS set to performance, and that is just helping us give that just extra little bit of frame rate. Actually, you know, there's one more thing we could do just to get it a little bit higher. Post-processing low, effects low, view distance, epic, we want that. And I think that looks about all right. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Now we are above 144 FPS. So if you have a 4K 144 hertz monitor, Fortnite will be able to run and max out the refresh rate on that 4K monitor. Anyways, let's see if we can get into some action here. I highly doubt we're gonna find anybody. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna do what's called a hidden run. Oh, wrong weapon. Got one. Another one? Nope. How did he? These kids, they don't know what's good. They don't got an $1,800 PC underneath their keyboard and mouse, do they? Everyone who's watching, this is plenty of frame rate. Look at this. I'm actually doing good in Fortnite. This PC is plenty. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and close out the video. Okay, let's get the obvious out of the way for this $1,800 gaming PC. If you intend to pair up a 1440p monitor with this PC, you are wasting your money. I know I'm gonna get comments in the comment section asking, well, how does this PC do at 1440p? Nope, I'm not even gonna bother answering that because this thing ripped it at 4K. Here's the deal. If you wanted to build a PC for 1440p gaming and you wanted to get a lot of frame rate on all of your favorite FPS or PC games, then just go ahead and build my $1,200 gaming PC and save yourself $600. Check out the benchmarks for it. It ran a lot of games at a high frame rate, even Fortnite, okay? And if you felt like that wasn't enough, then luckily for you, there is a custom, tailor-made, price to performance $1,500 gaming PC, also for 1440p gaming, that I created that wastes no money on unnecessary RGB, is all about performance, and that is for all of you 1440p high frame rate obsessed PC gamers who want to build a PC specifically for high frame rate 1440p gaming. This right here is a 4K gaming PC. It ran Call of Duty Black Ops 6 at almost 100 FPS at 4K. It ran Fortnite at 4K, 144 FPS. It ran Counterstrike 2 above 300 FPS at 4K. The only game it struggled on, which makes sense, is Alan Wake 2 with everything turned on to the max. So like path tracing turned on to high, medium settings, even with frame generation turned on. That's where you can see getting a higher end NVIDIA card, like an upcoming 5080 or 5090, makes sense for that kind of a PC game, where it's a very graphically taxing, graphically pleasing looking AAA PC gaming experience that showcases the best of path tracing or ray tracing. With a 5080 or 5090, you get well above 60 FPS on Alan Wake 2 at 4K. So again, if you are the standard PC gamer who is gonna be playing the most popular PC games that aren't graphically demanding, they're all just high frame rate, this thing is still super duper overkill. You can do it at 4K, do not even bother doing 1440p on this PC. But performance aside, I wanna talk about this case because I thought at first building inside this SSUPD Xhuttle case was gonna be not just challenging, but time consuming. But as we filmed our build video with it, I was pleasantly surprised. First off, I think my favorite thing about this case is that it does so much for this size of a PC case. Because one thing I've noticed with a lot of PC case trends recently is that they've been getting bigger and bigger just to allow you to shove more fans into the PC case. And I think a great case to compare this with is the recently released NZXT H7 Flow. So that case has a similar presence to this, where it has a dual chamber layout, but it's not wide, and the power supply is just mounted vertically, but it has a traditional motherboard layout rather than this inverted one. And that makes the case really, really tall. But what SSUPD have done is with this inverted motherboard layout, they've been able to squash the height of the PC. And since all of the IO here on top is at the top right here, so you can just, route all the cables into here, you can fit some more fans up here for additional exhaust. So I wasn't kidding. This PC case can really support up to 9 fans. Right now I've got 8. 2 on top as exhaust, 3 here as an additional exhaust, and 3 that came on the bottom with the PC case, already cable routed, already hooked up as intake. And that is really impressive for this kind of a PC case. And again, to drive the point home, the actual footprint of this PC case is no different than a standard ATX mid tower. I mean, yes, it's taller, but I compared this to my latest $1,000 PC build and the Lee & Lee LandCool 7, and the physical footprint was nearly the same. It just happened to be taller. But again, I feel like you'd want that extra length because look at what kind of graphics card you can throw into here. And you don't have to worry at all about GPU sag because the GPU is vertical. And I mean, yeah, I went with an air cooler in this build, but imagine if you had a 360mm AIO water cooler. You could throw that thing right here as exhaust. You can just see how much cooling capacity this PC case can support. And I almost want to rebuild my own PC inside of this PC case. There's just 2 things that you got to keep in mind if you wanted to actually build a PC in this case. First and foremost, this is a right-sided PC case. because of the inverted motherboard layout and the I/O being here on top, unlike every other PC build I've done on this channel where the side panel that you can see all the components on is on the left side of the PC case, this is on the opposite. This is on the right side. So it's gonna be on like the other side of your desk. Also, since all of the I/O is here on top, all of your cables are gonna come through here, which fortunately, SSUPD have actually done a really good job in kind of hiding the cables because they'll just come right through here. But since they're from the top coming down here, your cables need to be longer. So your display cable, your USB cables, mouse and keyboard, all of those cables need to be longer. So just kind of keep that in mind. Otherwise, for $140, this is a solid PC case. I really enjoyed building in this, and I really appreciate SSUPD for shaking up the case market and doing something, not that we haven't seen this before, but it's been a while since I've seen an inverted motherboard PC case, so props to them, as well as the other people who sent us components for this $1,800 gaming PC build, those being ID Cooling, KELVV, and FSP for their supplied components. And again, thank you to SSUPD for sponsoring this build video. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and this is the ScatterVolt channel, signing out.